Dave, I'm an immigrant. I came here, and I have friends who came here through different paths, but they're all productive members of our communities.
Right.
And for them to walk around feeling unsafe and targeted because of this nasty language that's coming out of the mayor's mouth is simply unfair.
Forgive me for interrupting, Assemblyman, but
immigrants.
I married an immigrant as well and brought her to New York, so I know what the situation's like. But she came here legally. You came here legally. A lot of the migrants that are coming are not. And in fact, there's also a question of whether they have been properly vetted. There was a horrible incident of a Venezuelan migrant who was here, and I'm sure you read about it, who was involved in 6 crimes in the past 2 months that he's been in New York, most of them violent crimes. Of course, there's another issue of him being just let out after committing violent crimes. But one, he used a knife. Another, he dragged a woman across the street by her hair. If migrants are being let in who shouldn't have been let in, that's a problem, right?
Of course, we don't want anyone who acts violently toward others to be part of our communities. We want to hold them accountable. But for every one case, David, as you know, there are hundreds of others who are productive, who just want to get a job, who wants to put food on the table. And we don't talk about those stories. But I see them all around us trying to fit in and trying to compete. And that's the spirit that we're trying to foster in places like New York City. Because without them, there is no economy. And so there has to be a balance here.
Well,
of course, we don't want violent offenders.
Without law, there is no society. And the question of whether people are coming in legally, being properly vetted, is a serious issue. There's also a question, you mentioned the laws, and we are a sanctuary city, as many cities around the country are, but the question of whether that acts as a lure to bring people in, because combined with the right to shelter law, which is decades old that we have here, in which you're being forced to pay for food and shelter and medical care, which is quite expensive. That's very dangerous. The mayor now is kind of waffling on whether that law needs to be changed somewhat, even though he campaigned on it. He said when he was campaigning for mayor, we should protect our immigrants, period. Yes, New York City will remain a sanctuary city under an Adams administration. That's what he said when he was running for mayor. Now he's wondering whether it's time for a change.
Yeah, he's passing the buck. I mean, I don't necessarily blame one mayor. He inherited a lot of problems, and it's almost an impossible situation for him to do. But he took the job. So when you compete for this job, you're supposed to administer the laws that's in the book. If you want to change the laws, then propose a different law to appeal it. That's your right.
He already, by the way, excuse me for interrupting, but he already has proposed certain variations or change of the right to shelter, has he not? And I'm wondering where that is in the courts right now. So that might change.
Right. He's trying to use the courts to appeal components of the law, but don't be half into it. If you're against it, let's publicly come out against it and propose a law in Albany to appeal those laws. He's not doing that. He's got 1 foot out, 1 foot in.
Well, finally,
it's confusing the public.
I mean, it's funny because you start out saying too many people are blaming each other. You're blaming the mayor now. I just want to get back to your own. I just want to get back to your own history and those of thousands, millions of Americans who have migration as part of their family. There's questions about whether people who are now here illegally are jumping over those folks who've been trying for years. And I have family members who've been trying for years to get a green card. Now we hear the governor talking about getting work permits for those who are already here, when people who have been trying legally, millions of people, to do that for years are still waiting in a queue. Is that fair?
It is hard to not pit one community against another. And there are immigrants that are feeling frustrated, as you pointed out.
Millions,
but we all have to
of migrants who've been doing things the legal way are very frustrated.
Time when we can pander the fear to put communities against each other instead of fostering a collective mindset.
It's not fear. It's a matter of what is right and what is wrong, what is legal and what is not.
I don't believe any person, and I grew up in a very religious household. I don't believe any human being that comes to our neighborhood is illegal. I don't describe them as legal. We are all God's children, and we have to treat them as such.
But we have laws, and we have millions of people who have been playing by the laws and the rules. Don't they deserve attention? And you're jumping over what they've been doing.
There are more immigrants that are still waiting to get their benefits that are willing to extend an extra hand. And that is the beauty of being in a neighborhood of immigrants. They're not willing to pull up the ladder behind them. They're also struggling, but they also don't want to pull up that ladder.
Well,
they want to extend the ladder. So other people who are struggling can also have a chance.
Assemblyman, we have to go, but one of the beauties of America is we can agree to disagree, and thank God we have that right. But I really appreciate you coming in today. Great to see you, Assemblyman.